Take a deep breath for me. Hello, I'm Kwan Siu. Chapter 11. You Got My Heart Racing. 7 September 2022, Wednesday. You have a new doctor, said Leo, one of the staff manning the admission desk, as he stapled my admission papers together to put them away. Yes, I do. Leo was a friendly young man loaded with good manners and compassion. Over the months, he had processed most of my admissions and discharges. He saw me through weight loss to weight gain, sickly pale to glowingly tanned. Leo took pride in everything he did, always going above and beyond for me. Every time I saw him, he greeted me with a warm smile and genuine concern. I had not seen him out of sorts at all, despite having to confront irritable patients and their families, sometimes with questionable behavior, daily. By now, he knew my room preference, my doctor, and my insurance company. My admission process with him seemed to get faster and easier. I was not even sure if this was a good or bad thing. After I experienced another palpitation episode at home, I knew Dr. Deva was right. I had to have my heart checked. There were many exceptional cardiologists practicing where I stayed. However, I had asked Dr. Deva to send me to one he could communicate directly with because I did not want to be a tired messenger between him and whoever I chose. And I noticed he had trust issues with doctors he didn't know. So here I was, nicely settled in the shared room, again because the hospital was full. I didn't have a roommate yet, but I think that status would change very quickly. Since I got to choose, I wanted the bed next to the windows. When I was finally left alone, I pulled up all the blinds and let the sun in, then sat on the bed and stared out the window at nothing in particular. The soothing warmth of the sun on me was very comforting. It brought about a sense of comfort and contentment, just like being cradled in nature's embrace. For a few minutes, I forgot I was in the hospital and the reason I was here. The sound of Dr. Devil's derbies click-clacking on the ward's vinyl floor, signaling his arrival, jotted me back to reality. Good afternoon, I remembered my manners. Good afternoon, how are you? Nervous? What are your plans for me? Hart will come to see you later. I have updated him on your background. He will probably ask you a few questions and we will go from there. Okay, that didn't sound so bad, Dr. D will continue. Don't worry, he is a very nice person, a little stern, but he is the best there is. I didn't need to wait long. Dr. Hart arrived very soon after that. Hello, I am Hart. I am your cardiologist. Devo is very concerned about your condition. Let's get to it. He asked me a long list of questions. Some made me nervous, some I couldn't answer. We need to do a thyroid function test, he said after he examined me. It was already done in April, and it was perfect. Why do you want to do it again? Your eyes. They are too excited, he explained. I didn't know that was a problem. So my arm was pricked and blood was drawn. 13 minutes later, Dr. Hart returned with the result of my blood test and announced, your thyroid function is perfect. I told you so. So what is wrong with my eyes? They are naturally excited. I was sent to the heart center for an electrocardiogram, also known as ECG, after lunch. Unlike most circumstances before my scans, I was not nervous this time. It might be because I had done this not too long ago, and I was quite sure of the outcome unless there was a sudden change in the condition of my heart. As soon as that was done, I was sent back to the ward. Dr. Hart returned soon after. The test result was satisfactory, so we moved deeper into the investigation. Next, I went back up to the heart center in the same afternoon for an echocardiogram. This was new to me. It is an ultrasound scan to look at the heart and nearby blood vessels. I was asked to lie down on my back on the examination table. Again, a few electrodes were attached to my chest, mainly to monitor my heart rhythm during the test. The sonographer moved the probe across my chest like how one operated the ultrasound machine. Throughout the scan, I heard a swishing noise, which the sonographer told me was the sound of my blood flow picked up by the probe. The whole procedure didn't take very long. I would say approximately 15 to 20 minutes or so. I didn't expect him to tell me anything about my scan, although he was very chatty. However, towards the end, he mentioned that I had nothing to worry about. That eased my tension a little. I knew I had to get the complete finding from Dr. Hart later. When I got back to my room, I had a roommate. I was not sure what she was admitted for, but from her phone conversations, she seemed stressed. I went back to my bed to enjoy what was left of the afternoon sun. Although I was not nervous or anxious, a sense of discomfort still gripped me. Waiting for diagnostic test results was a very difficult process. Dr. Hart didn't let me wait for very long. He was back again. In less than 3 hours, he came to see me 3 times, and I knew his office was 2 blocks away. It had to be quite a workout for him, especially since all his other patients were not in this building. He was the first doctor who had never made me wait. For that, I was very grateful. I am very happy with your echocardiogram. You have a young and strong heart. This is exceptional. However, we have not identified the reason for your heart palpitations and fainting spells, he indicated. What about my blood tests? They're all good. Healthy hemoglobin level, cholesterol levels are great. Nothing I am worried about. Devo is right. Your pulse rate is higher than average. Are you in pain? A little, but I don't think the pain is intense enough to affect my pulse rate. Let me talk to him, and I'll come back to you. So off he went. When he said he would talk to Dr. Devo, I didn't expect him to call Dr. Devo immediately, but that was what he did, because he was back a few minutes later. You lied to me, he accused while pointing at me. I was shocked. I had no idea what he was talking about. About what? When I asked you, you said you have not fainted recently, but Devo told me you passed out right here in this ward just last week. Oh, bollocks. That incident? How was I going to explain that? I didn't pass out. I was dizzy and lightheaded, but I didn't faint. I defended myself, and I didn't lie. It was just an omission. That is not what Devo said. From his tone, I was very sure he trusted Dr. Devo more than he trusted me. However, this was not a debate, and there was no winner, so I just let things be. I was here for an investigation. Overdiagnosed would be preferable to underdiagnosed, especially when we were dealing with such a significant organ. When I didn't respond, he softened his demeanor. Devo is very worried about you. He has expressed his concerns to me repeatedly. Can you work with me to help you and also give Devo peace of mind? I believed Dr. Devo was kept too busy by too many patients and too many random sojourns to repeatedly single me out, but Dr. Hart had his way with words. What do you want me to do next? I'm going to have a halter attached to your chest for 24 hours. You don't need to do anything. After 24 hours, we will download the data and have it analyzed. When will this be done? Today? The heart center is full for the rest of today. They can only do it tomorrow. Will that be all right? Okay, do as you have planned. After Dr. Hart left, I googled about Holter monitors. I had to know what I was getting myself into, and learning about new gadgets was an exciting activity for me. A Holter monitor is a portable ECG. It records the electrical activity of the heart continuously over 24 hours or longer. This test may be done if a standard ECG does not provide enough details about the heart's condition. Its main function is to detect or determine the risk of irregular heartbeats, a condition called arrhythmias. Since I presented some symptoms of arrhythmias, dizziness, unexplained faintings, lightheadedness, this test could not be skipped. When Dr. Devo came to see me later, he was happy that my initial tests turned out well. Do you know that your appointment at the heart center tomorrow was supposed to be in the afternoon and not in the morning? Dr. Devo asked, but continued, I saw Hart personally went to the heart center to fight for the morning slot for you so that you don't need to stay here longer than necessary. Upon hearing this, my heart instantaneously squeezed, highly moved by Dr. Hart's care, not only for my physical well-being, but for my time and convenience. As I said, his clinic was not located in this building or anywhere near it. He had been going back and forth this whole afternoon just to check on me and make arrangements for my tests. Dr. Devo had truly sent me a remarkable doctor. Dear Dr. Hart, I apologize if I was ever a difficult patient. You, on the other hand, have been nothing short of a compassionate doctor. Thank you. Towards the evening, my roommate was sent to the OT. I had not discovered what surgery she was having, but she was away for a couple of hours. Her family members were coming in and going out of the room repeatedly throughout, but they were quiet. The waiting had to be agonizing for them. I could relate. I had been in their circumstance several times. Eventually, they went down to wait at the cafe in the lobby. I hope it was not a life-threatening procedure. I had an unremarkable dinner. I couldn't even remember what I ate. I seldom did. As long as I filled my tummy, I would be contented. Meals in this hospital were more than sufficient for me. Every meal I was served a soup, a salad, a huge main, a dessert, and a drink. I didn't remember eating such a complete meal on any given day at home. On top of that, I was also served late morning tea, afternoon tea, and supper. Except for the time when I was very ill at AMC, I believe I kept my weight throughout all my stays at the hospital. At approximately 8 p.m., my roommate returned. Unlike me, when I had my surgery last time, she was very alert and did not suffer much of the side effects of GA. Either she had a more robust physique or her surgery was not as long as mine. Her surgeon came to see her soon after. With the curtains drawn, I did not see any of them, but their conversation was distinct. "You removed my entire breast?" I heard my roommate ask in shock. "There were more lumps. It is easier to remove the entire breast," her surgeon replied nonchalantly. I didn't like where this was going. Unfortunately, I couldn't close my ears like I could close my eyes. Note to self, remember to carry AirPods with me at all times. At that moment, I didn't like this surgeon very much. Her voice lacked tenderness and she had a cold demeanor. I knew it was all in a day's work for her, but this was an event of great consequence to her patient. As a doctor and also a woman, how could she feel no compassion at all? And most consequentially, why didn't she alert her patient of this possibility before the surgery? I remembered having this conversation with Dr. Dewar. He made an effort to see me even though it was late into the night to explain to me there was a possibility I could have my entire kidney removed. This was an important conversation to have before any surgery. All surgeries carry a considerable amount of risk and the possibility of things not turning out as they should be. A patient needs to depend entirely on the surgeon's quick judgment to carry on to achieve the best possible outcome to prevent deterioration or loss of life. Communicated expectation was an essential part of treatment. "But we didn't see other lumps in the scan." My roommate sounded distressed now. "Scans are not entirely accurate. Some lumps don't appear in scans," explained the surgeon coldly. But just then, a phone rang. It was the surgeon's. "Look, I am very busy. I will see you tomorrow. I need to take this call." And she left the room, just like that, without waiting for a response from my roommate or return to conclude their conversation. That was appalling. I couldn't believe my ears. The room was quiet. No one spoke for a few minutes. I believed my roommate and her family were still recovering from the shock of an unexpected mastectomy, a surgery to remove the breast, and also the surgeon's brusque behavior. When they finally spoke, the air was somber. It was almost at the end of visiting hours and her family had to leave. My heart ached for her. She should be thoroughly prepared for this possibility. Following the teachings of my faith, my conversations with God were undemanding. Every morning as I opened my eyes, I was thankful for my precious life and the ability to offer service to all around me. Every night before I go to bed, I thank God for His blessings and guidance which enabled me to complete what I needed to do. God had given me plenty. It would be greedy to ask for more. However, tonight I had to ask God to grant my roommate peace and acceptance. I didn't know her. I had not seen her face, and I had not spoken to her, but I felt for her. I prayed that she was spared from emotional pain. I was sure painkillers would take care of her physical ones. "You are not what happened to you. You are how you choose to handle it," quoted Stephen Bartlett. 8 September 2022, Thursday. I was awakened before dawn. If I was at home, I would jump out of bed and head straight to the kitchen. It had become routine for the past decade or so that I prepare meals for my children to bring to school and also for Yoda to bring to work. I wasn't much for domestic tasks. Their packed lunches were simple, just warm meals to fill the children's bellies and ensure Yoda didn't skip meals. And since they were undemanding, this arrangement worked out well. With that done, I got myself ready for work. Today, I was not at home and had nothing to rush out of bed for. While I was away, my 11-year-old daughter had taken up the task of packing lunches for everyone. I did not specifically train her to carry out this routine, nor had I instructed her to do so. She decided it was something she had to step up and do while I was not at home. For that, I was very proud. The greatest gifts you can give your children are the roots of responsibility and the wings of independence, quoted Denise Waitley. I sat up and quietly gazed out the windows as the first rays of sunlight slowly pierced through the city skyline. With the advancing dawn, the world gradually awakens. Vehicles started to fill the roads beneath, and I could hear my roommate rustling about. Very soon she started to receive phone calls to inquire about her well-being. Her conversations were straightforward. A repetition of the account of what happened yesterday, her shock of an unexpected mastectomy, and her disappointment with a callous doctor. At one point, she was crying, and I couldn't help but cry quietly with her. I couldn't understand the emotion roiling deep inside my being. This stranger stirred up a powerful and deep reaction in me that transcended the boundaries of familiarity and personal connection. Dr. Dewar came to see me after breakfast to ensure everything was in order. "That guy," I brought up while pointing to the window of the block next to mine, "has been walking briskly in laps several times a day." "Is he peeping at you?" asked Dr. Dewar. No, I just find it strange that he is doing some form of exercise or routine out in the corridor in his hospital robe. Draw the blind so he doesn't see you." "I don't think he noticed me." This happened when an observant person was trapped in a place with nothing significant or interesting happening. Working in an R&D environment had conditioned me to notice everything, even the most boring details, and right this moment, I was bored. My roommate's side of the room was quiet. Maybe she decided to take a morning nap. She deserved it. I believe she didn't sleep soundly yesterday. When it was my appointment time, I was escorted yet again to the Hearts Center. They didn't insist I use a wheelchair this time, and I was relieved. Wheelchairs attracted a lot of attention, and after my repeated stays here, I preferred to be unnoticed. The installation of the Holter monitor was quick and straightforward. It involved affixing a Velcro sticker on my chest where my heart was, and the Holter monitor Velcroed to the sticker. I couldn't believe I was made to wait overnight for such a swift and easy procedure. If it was not for Dr. Hart's stubborn insistence that they brought my appointment forward to the morning, I would have been made to wait some more. At that moment, thinking about it, I was a little pissed, so I stopped thinking about it and obediently went back to the ward. Yoda often berated me for not standing up for myself, pointing out that I was an easy target for bullies, and I agreed. There was no denying that every day there would be someone who would do something that annoyed, took advantage of, or hurt us. It was easy to get upset and let the situation manifest into a need to retaliate, to lodge a complaint, or to whine about it repeatedly. How I reacted would depend on how much the problem impacted me or those around me. I felt that if every small problem bugged me, then I was using my focus and energy on the wrong problems. It had become a habit for me to ignore minute issues and spend my time and effort on solving big problems. So, yes, I had long accepted that I was a pushover, not a fantastic attribute on a resume, but this was one weakness I didn't think I wanted to work on, since the world was talking about energy conservation and all. At around lunchtime, a stranger came in to see my roommate. She was the surgeon's assistant. "The doctor is very busy and won't be coming to see you today. Do you have any concerns that you need me to highlight to the doctor?" What? That was mighty irresponsible of her surgeon. I couldn't believe what I just heard. That was atrocious. The worst behaved doctor I had ever encountered. Being busy was not a good excuse to skip ward visits, especially at this critical moment of recovery. Her patient just went through a major surgery that possibly had a great impact on her for the rest of her life. The least she could do was to see to her recovery and help her get back on track. What if she was in pain or had a concern about her wound? I pulled out my phone and Googled the surgeon's name. I needed to put a face to this horrible person, and there she was. Multiple images of her face filling the screen on my phone. I didn't like her before and I didn't like her now. Her face carried an air of arrogance laced with an insincere smile. Good, it was easy to dislike her. I couldn't help but think about my mother's surgeon. 20 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a trying period for us, learning to accept what couldn't be changed and learning about everything we had to know in facing this life-threatening disease. Although my mother had met with her surgeon days before, I only met her right before my mother's surgery. We were briefed very thoroughly about all the possible outcomes, and some were not desirable, but we had to be aware of them. I remembered that night after my mother's surgery, as I was sitting alone outside my mother's room crying from helplessness, her surgeon came over and sat with me. Without asking, she quietly took out her card, wrote down her mobile number on the back and gave it to me. This is my private number. If you feel that at any time at all, even in the middle of the night, you need to talk to me, just give me a call. That was the greatest gesture I received from a doctor, especially during a time when there were no smartphones, when doctors still relied heavily on pagers for emergencies. I was very grateful then, and I was especially grateful now. Her compassion and empathy left such a powerful impact in our lives. Till today, my mother and I still reminisce how she helped us get through that very dark period. The difference between good and great is just a little extra effort, quoted Duffy Dougherty. I spent the afternoon reading and catching up with communications. The marathon guy at the neighboring block was doing his laps again. Due to the protruding Holter monitor, I couldn't wear my round neck t-shirt comfortably, so I was only in my sports bra. Although I didn't think he could see me, I quickly covered myself with my lounge cardigan. Unlike me, because I like to be inconspicuous, my roommate received many calls inquiring about her well-being throughout the afternoon. I was happy for her to be surrounded by caring friends, especially in this awful circumstance. At least with each call, she had an outlet to express her disappointment and fears. There were so many uncertainties that she wished to address with her doctor but was not able to. At the end of the workday, Dr. Devo came to see me again and I was glad. Although he didn't have much to contribute to my procedures this time, except for treating my infection, his being here meant a lot to me. That is smaller than I expected, commented Dr. Devo while pointing to my Holter monitor. You'll probably need to update yourself in the area of vascular gizmos. If it is up to me, I'll make them hang one as heavy as a brick to anchor you. Since I was told to be at ease with the gadget, I decided to take a walk just around the ward. I didn't think going to the lobby in my sports bra was a good idea because my cardigan had no buttons. After a few minutes of aimless strolling, I checked the time in Berlin and called Stefan. Although he was still at work, unless he was in a meeting, he would take my call. Guten Abend, he answered. Guten Tag, wie geht's? Good, I am seeing someone, he announced excitedly. As in dating or hallucinations? Bitch! This was an old joke between us. There was a time during our university days when Stefan would get stupidly drunk after his breakups and tell everyone within listening distance that he was seeing me. There were quite a few of his breakups because engineering students were never great at dating. We were boring, unromantic, and lacked social skills. At work, Stefan was very career-oriented. His ambition would always be his priority, so I believe that would not sit well with anyone wanting to share his life. Ambitious people really only have two options, a supportive partner or no partner at all. Quoted unknown. Our decades-long friendship had withstood the test of loyalty, heartaches, and distance. We didn't always talk or text, but we knew we would always be there to tell each other, "I told you so." Stefan was a proud man. To him, the world should only see and hear of his success and accomplishments. Showing any form of weakness was unacceptable. Over the years, I had listened without judgment and cared for him without conditions. I reminded him that accomplishments wouldn't erase mistakes, they only masked them with pride and ego. He needed to let go of the need to appear perfect and understand that true peace with the past comes from acceptance. His growth hinged on acknowledging the truth about himself. It was not up to me to say when, but while waiting for that to happen, I would be his friend who wasn't going to judge him. You don't inspire others by being perfect. You inspire them by how you deal with your imperfections, quoted Shannon L. Adler. 9th September 2022, Friday. After my phone call with Stefan that lasted late into the night, I pondered the progress of his new relationship. Different factors were now coming into play now. We were more mature, more mellowed, and more obliging. At this point in our life, we value different qualities. When we were young, we were brainwashed by fairy tales to live happily ever after immediately after the wedding. Everyone sought continuous happiness in marriage, which was why this perception failed spectacularly. No relationship could sustain a spell of continuous happiness. It would be boring otherwise. A relationship is for growth, where two people help each other develop into better versions of themselves. As we mature further in life, a relationship is for companionship. We deserve a relationship that allows us to sleep peacefully at night. I didn't pretend to be an expert in relationships, but I was in mine for more than 20 years. The thing was, engineers had no social life. We usually end up marrying each other. This could be good or bad, depending on how we want to live with this situation. I met Yoda at work. Although we were in the engineering team of the same department, we were responsible for different processes of the manufacturing line that spanned multiple floors. So we didn't work together or see much of each other. However, being in the same industry and profession enabled us to have a deeper understanding of each other's work challenges, hence we seldom took each other for granted. Unlike what many assume, we didn't have similar interests and professional goals, despite sharing the same career. It was always his desire to build something of his own, away from the limitations of employment, where he could let his ideas and creativity take hold. My interests were more academic. Everything I embarked on had to provide a learning opportunity to add value to my life. So, we were similar but not the same, which was quite fortunate, else we would probably have squabbled more. Sailing across the stormy sea of compromise required intricate skills, especially when the ship had two captains. I didn't think I had perfected it. Yoda was marginally better at it, but we never stopped encouraging and supporting each other in chasing our ambitions. Sometimes what we needed was just that one person in our life who said, "You got this, I believe in you." A commendable aspect I appreciated in Yoda was his understanding that, due to my training and the industry I work in, I was almost all the time surrounded by men, professionally and socially. Although this was not an issue for all husbands, this was an issue for most husbands. I was always very grateful for this exemplary quality in him, which enabled me to pursue my career and interests without a second thought about the possibility of this being an issue. He trusted me completely, and I never gave him reason to feel otherwise. Being in a relationship meant I represented him wherever I went. My actions would always reflect that I care for him, appreciate him, and respect him. Both of us accepted that as time went by, we could change, and it might not be in the same direction. Hopefully, it would not happen, but if it did, I hope that we would respect each other enough to address it. Before noon, a nurse from the heart center came to remove my Holter monitor. Dr. Hart came to see me shortly after. Initial tests show your heart to be fit, although your pulse rate is constantly higher than the average, he indicated. Seeing you and Devo raises my pulse rate. It is common to have an increased pulse rate while you're in the hospital. Your blood pressure could even be higher, he explained. I don't expect to receive the Holter report today since they need to send it back to the manufacturer for analysis. You can come back for the report another day. When can we expect to receive it? The earliest is tomorrow. That is if they work on Saturday. I cannot be sure, so if you want to go home today, I am comfortable to discharge you, provided it is fine with Devo. However, you should call me directly if you are not well. Thank you. I am relieved, although I was not comfortable that we had not arrived at a diagnosis. I didn't know how the discharge process works when there were multiple doctors involved. Could one of them discharge me, or does there have to be a consensus from all the doctors involved? No one came in to inform me that I could go home. And where was Dr. Devo? It was past noon, and I had not seen him. Are you discharging today? Ronald called and asked. I think so, I answered hesitantly. What do you mean you think so? Hart said I can go, but I might need to come back tomorrow or next week. I have not heard from Devo. Call him, she insisted. He could be busy. I knew he was, or else he would have come. I didn't think it was appropriate to disturb him with something so trivial. I always let the nurses handle the process as per their standard operating procedure. Let me know when you want me to get you from the hospital. Sure. Towards the end of the workday, Dr. Devo strutted into my room like a peacock surrounded by an air of arrogance and flamboyance. Sorry, I was running in and out of OT the whole day, he apologized. When have you ever not? He laughed. He gave me the impression that he enjoyed feeling important and being useful. So, we want to go home today? He spoke like he was talking to a brooding toddler. Makes no difference at this point, I sucked, reciprocating his mockery. Your pulse rate is still high. Are you in pain? You make sure that I am not. It's late. You cannot seriously want to take the train home alone. Given what happened recently, and we haven't yet discovered why, let us observe your vitals for one more night. I will let you off tomorrow. I repeat, I was a pushover. But I was also sensible. He was right. 10th September 2022, Saturday. It's good that you're still here. I have the report from the Holter, announced Dr. Hart bright and early as he strolled into my room. I was nervous, my heartbeat tripling in speed. I had to stop behaving like this. This was very obvious not helping my condition. There are no significant issues that we need to address immediately. I am very pleased, confirmed Dr. Hart. I was happy, of course. Now we just needed to make sense of the symptoms that brought me here. Now I need to give you some homework. Do you have a blood pressure gauge and thermometer at home? He asked. Yes. Good, here's a chart. He passed me a piece of paper with boxes printed on it. I want you to fill up your vitals 3 times a day for 1 month. And then you come back to see me after that. I want to know your vitals outside the hospital. This seemed to be a simple enough homework, although a little annoying. I had 2 trips coming up, and it would probably drive me nuts cutting along a whole lot of paraphernalia to collect the data he required. As for the palpitations, we couldn't investigate this since you had no palpitations while wearing the Holter monitor. I'm going to give you a letter, which you must carry with you at all times. When palpitation happens, go immediately to the nearest facility to get an ECG done. Bring that chart to me, then we will go from there, he explained. My anxiety eased when Dr. Hart concluded that there was no immediate threat to my cardiovascular health. The homework he assigned to me was a small inconvenience to investigate an irritating problem, although at the moment insignificant. We established a list of tasks in sequential order. This was important to me because as he was talking, a flowchart was already forming in my head. I was obsessed with charts. They simplify the flow of processes and make things easier to understand and remember. I was very comforted knowing what to do next when a situation occurred. I was also given the option of medication to reduce my pulse rate, but I was still debating its necessity. After making arrangements for me to follow up with him in a month, Dr. Hart wished me a pleasant journey and left. He was an exceptional cardiologist and I was grateful for him. I didn't get to say thank you enough to Dr. Devo. If it was not for his insistence that I went through this diagnostic test with Dr. Hart, I would still be guessing and possibly repeatedly spook myself into overthinking and made my anxiety worse. He could have just left me alone with my fears and denials and focused on problems concerning his field of specialty, but he didn't. He had treated me like a person instead of just a job. Some people arrive and make such a beautiful impact on your life, you barely remember what life was like before them, quoted Anna Taylor. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to keep following the story, click here to listen to the next chapter. And if you're new, you can start from the beginning by listening to the full playlist here. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll know when the next chapter is released. Until then, take care, take a deep breath, and I'll see you in the next one.